you very much for being here. Today I'm going to talk about consumption of the recommended protein intake in complementary foods of offspring of mothers with and without gestational diabetes, 18 months to follow up. Where are the children now not growing? In 1 out of 3 children worldwide under the age of 5 is not growing well. If we can see the worldwide overview, we can see that UNICEF, WHO World Bank Group estimated that stunting is declining too slowly, while wasting still impacts the lives too far too many young children, and there has been no progress to stem the rate of overweight in nearly 20 years. So we can see the malnutrition rates remain alarming. If we can see anemia in children under 5 years old, WHO estimates 42% of children less than 5 years worldwide anemic. Iron deficiency in children under 2 years of age can have irreversible consequences on brain development. For example, a negative repercussion on learning and school performance in later stages of life. So now we are looking at the consumption of animal source foods between worldwide and in Mexico. Without enough diversity in children's diets, they may not get enough nutrients to grow well, which can take devastating tolls on children's bodies and brains. UNICEF and WHO recommends that children at this age eat a minimum of 5 to 8 food groups. In Mexico, 63.4% of children under the age of 4 do not consume animal source foods. 18% of children between 6 to 12 months consume meat, and 4% fortified cereals. If we can see the anemic national prevalence in children from 12 to 59 months, we can see that it's continued to be a public health problem magnitude moderate. The National Service of Health and Nutrition 2012 identified 3 main problems related to nutrition: the low prevalence of exclusive breastfeeding, chronic malnutrition in children under 5 years of age, anemia, overweight and obesity in the Mexican population, as well as the high percentage of Mexican households perceived to be food insecure. When we started to build the protocol, we start to read the research. We can find a review of children that have a greater risk of iron deficiency because of their accelerated growth. Morgan findings: meat consumption between 4 and 12 months and between 4 and 16 months was possibly and significantly related to psychomotor development index. Another study, the consumption of beef at 12 months in the intervention group increased hemoglobin versus the control group. Another study of TANG, in breastfeed infants, higher protein intake from meats was associated with greater linear growth and weight gain, but without excessive gain in adiposity, suggesting that potential risk of high protein intake may differ between breastfeed and formula-fed infants and by the source of protein. So we decided to review the international and national guidelines to address the most relevant points for the protocol. The educational intervention for the prevention and management of overweight and obesity during the first 18 months of life in the children and in the mother of gestational diabetes in beneficiaries of the Mexican Institute of Social Security. The importance of animal food during the first 2 years of life is that the period of time in which exclusive breastfeeding is adequate to meet the protein needs of babies is up to 6 months. Another point is that animal proteins provide essential and non-essential amino acids for the first 2 years of life, and is an important factor in growth and development. Macronutrient deficiency after 6 months may contribute to slow growth, and the bone density in childhood is associated with increased protein intake. The official national standard since 2012 recommends meat, vegetables, cereals, and fruits at the age of 6 to 7 months of age. We decided that the educational intervention we had monthly sessions to promote breastfeeding and orientation of complementary food in the first 3 months and quarterly until month 18. Here we have the face-to-face sessions, which include exclusive breastfeeding, newborn care, warning signs, growth and development monitoring, early stimulation activities, nutrition, and physical activity. Each week, mothers received the message for the promotion of healthy eating and physical activity. Also, we send information on exclusive feeding and breast milk until 6 months after promotion of an adequate complementary feeding. The effectiveness of the intervention was measured with all these questionnaires. We had a virtual intervention caused by COVID SARS-2, and we decided to change the face-to-face intervention to virtual, and we made messages and infographics by WhatsApp, as well as telephone follow-up with each mother. We decided to prioritize 5 points. Continue breastfeeding until 24 months of age. Give adequate complementary food according to age. Increase the consumption of vegetables and fruits. Avoid offering the child sugar drinks and processed food products. Avoid offering the child foods with sugar, fat, and salt. For this study, we aim to evaluate the consumption of the recommended protein in the complementary diet of children and mothers with and without gestational diabetes at 18 months of follow-up. The methodology was a secondary analysis of a prospective cohort of children of mothers with and without gestational diabetes from study number R2018-785-079. The evaluation of questionnaires of frequency intake food, and the statistic analysis descriptive and comparative. Here we have the baseline anthropometric characteristic in newborns. We can see that the group of diabetes had an IMNC higher than the rest of the groups. The questionnaire of frequency of intake of animal source is we decided chicken, beef, liver, pork, egg, fish, and turkey for the 18 months. We decided to look at the homemade, the commercial products, the age of onset, how many days in a week, and how many times a day. We decided to build a categorical variable and for each animal source food, using the frequency of days per week and times per day that each food was consumed. Adequate intake was defined as consume the food at least 1 day a week, but more than 2 times a day. Consume the food more than 2 days a week, at least 1 time a day. Due to the nature of the frequency questionnaire intake, the amount of food offered wasn't taken into account. We were able to see that the protein intake of animal source food in the group of gestational diabetes was for beef 83.1% and 92.9% in the intervention group versus 77.8%. The other important protein intake was fish, 98.8% and 100% with and without diabetes, but with intervention, versus 50.5% without diabetes and without intervention. Our final thought is that the complementary feeding in Mexico contribute together with breast milk to achieve adequate nutrition. It is crucial for the normal development of the brain and neurocognitive development to implement strategies that favor an adequate consumption of protein of animal origin. Failing to do so at an early stage can have profound long-term implications for both mental and quality of life. FAO, WHO, and ONU established an average intake of 1.5 per kilogram per day in children from 0 to 6 months and 1.1 per kilograms per day at 12 months. Therefore, the consumption of a formula should be limited and the consumption of food of animal origin should be prioritized to adjust it to the needs and thus avoid obesity and comorbidities. Conclusions is these findings support that the educational intervention focus on complementary foods promotes the animal protein source in 18 months for the children. Currently, the study is still ongoing. The final result will be evaluated at 24 months. It is pending to analyze the relationship between this frequency and neurological development with the Denver scale and with growth indicators. The inclusions of standardized protocols validated in the pediatric population of mothers with gestational diabetes is required to avoid obesity and comorbidities in early stages. Thank you to everyone that has been part of